Hello friends, and welcome to the Forgotten Past. On this channel, you'll explore untold stories, lost events, ancient discoveries, and hidden secrets from across history. Let's view the video. In 1587, over 100 settlers vanished from the shores of Roanoke Island without a trace. No graves, no bodies, no final message, just a single word carved into a post: Croatoan. This baffling disappearance remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history, and it all began with a dream. England, eager to challenge Spanish dominance and expand its empire, looked west to the Americas. Sir Walter Raleigh gained royal permission to establish a colony in the New World. In 1587, under his charter, 117 settlers, including men, women, and children, set sail across the Atlantic, filled with hope and ambition. John White, a skilled artist and mapmaker, was appointed governor of the new colony. Alongside him were families seeking fresh opportunity and freedom from England's economic struggles. Their destination? Roanoke Island, off the coast of present-day North Carolina, an area previously explored by earlier English expeditions. The journey across the Atlantic was long and grueling. Navigating unpredictable storms, sickness, and dwindling supplies, the settlers endured a 2-month voyage aboard ships like the Lion. Morale was tested, but the dream of building a prosperous English settlement in the New World pushed them onward. Upon arrival, they found the remains of a failed 1585 colony. The structures were decayed and the land largely untamed. Still, the settlers pressed forward, rebuilding and attempting to cultivate crops. The natural beauty of Roanoke hid the challenges that lay ahead: harsh weather, isolation, and an uncertain relationship with local tribes. While some local tribes, like the Croatoan, were initially friendly, others viewed the colonists with suspicion. Misunderstandings and past conflicts had soured trust. Tensions simmered, and resources were scarce. The settlers grew increasingly dependent on supply shipments from England, which were slow and unreliable. As the colony struggled, John White made a difficult decision. He would return to England to request help. He left behind his family, including his daughter and infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. It would be the last time he ever saw them. The promise of a new beginning quickly gave way to grim reality. The settlers of Roanoke found themselves surrounded by dense wilderness, sweltering heat, and an unforgiving coastline. The soil was poor, the weather unpredictable, and the settlers were ill-prepared for the brutal challenges that came with survival in the New World. The colony's crops failed repeatedly. Seeds brought from England didn't take to the foreign soil. Hunting yielded little game, and fishing was unreliable. Malnutrition spread quickly. With each passing day, rations diminished. The dream of building a thriving settlement seemed to wither alongside their dying cornfields and empty storehouses. The settlers' limited tools and lack of experience worsened their plight. Diseases they had no immunity against, like dysentery and fever, spread swiftly through the encampment. Clean water was difficult to access. Some began to question whether they had been abandoned in a land that didn't want them. Their relations with native tribes were delicate. While the Croatoan tribe remained neutral or occasionally helpful, other tribes, like the Secotán, were more hostile. Cultural misunderstandings and past English raids had created tension. Violent skirmishes erupted. Lives were lost on both sides, further straining any hope of peaceful coexistence. Isolation magnified fear. With no knowledge of when or if John White would return, paranoia began to set in. Every shadow became a threat, every distant sound a warning. Whispers of betrayal, disease, or invasion haunted the camp. Leadership faltered, and the morale of the settlers sank. Desperation gave way to division. Some settlers advocated abandoning Roanoke and seeking refuge inland or with friendly tribes. Others clung to the belief that England would return. Virginia Dare's presence, the first English baby born on American soil, served as both a symbol of hope and a tragic reminder of vulnerability. Still, they endured. Day after day, they clung to life through sheer will. But survival demanded more than endurance. It required supplies, reinforcements, and leadership, all of which were thousands of miles away. As the months dragged on, the settlers faced the bitter truth. They were truly alone. As the Roanoke Colony teetered on the edge of collapse, Governor John White knew a dire choice had to be made. Supplies were nearly gone, and hostile encounters were increasing. Against his deepest fears, he resolved to return to England and plead for aid, leaving behind his daughter and infant granddaughter. The voyage back to England in 1587 was filled with guilt and dread. White was tormented by visions of his family suffering without him. He arrived home just as England braced for war. The looming threat of the Spanish Armada threw the entire nation and his rescue mission into chaos. Queen Elizabeth had ordered all available ships to remain in England to defend against Spain. White's requests for a relief expedition were denied multiple times. Frustrated and powerless, he watched helplessly as months turned into years, knowing the Roanoke settlers waited in desperation. It wasn't until 1590, 3 years later, that John White finally secured passage on a privateer ship bound for Roanoke. The journey was treacherous and slow. His thoughts were consumed by his family, especially little Virginia Dare. He clung to the hope that they had endured. When he arrived at Roanoke Island, an eerie silence greeted him. The colony was deserted. Homes were dismantled, not destroyed. There were no signs of battle, no graves, and no remains. The settlement had vanished, as though the settlers had simply walked away. The only clue was a single word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. It was a planned signal, White had instructed, if the colony relocated. Yet storms and ship damage prevented him from reaching nearby Croatoan Island to investigate. With no supplies or support, he was forced to return to England. John White never saw his family or the settlers again. Haunted by their disappearance, he died years later without answers. His failure to return in time, and the mystery that followed, left a permanent scar in colonial history. Roanoke was now no longer a dream. It had become a ghost story. When John White stepped ashore at Roanoke in 1590, he expected joyous reunion. Instead, he was met by an unsettling silence. The settlement he helped build had vanished. No settlers, no signs of struggle, only overgrown pathways and the rustling of wind through empty, crumbling structures left behind. The houses weren't destroyed, but carefully dismantled. It looked as if the settlers had packed up and left, voluntarily. The palisade had been taken down, suggesting no immediate threat had caused panic. This methodical disappearance contradicted the violent fate many feared, leaving White more puzzled than ever. Then came the single haunting clue: the word Croatoan carved into a post. Nearby, the letters CRO were etched into a tree. White had told the colonists to leave such a sign if they relocated. Especially if danger was involved, they were to add a cross. There was no cross. Hope flickered briefly. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island and of a friendly native tribe. White believed they may have joined the tribe or at least taken refuge there. But storms battered the coast, damaging his ship and preventing a thorough search. Fate would not let him follow the trail. He tried multiple times to launch a recovery mission, but bad weather, dwindling supplies, and discontented sailors forced his ship to retreat. No one would sponsor another expedition, and White, heartbroken, returned to England. His final glimpse of Roanoke was of its ghostly silence and that single carved word. Rumors spread across Europe and the colonies. Had the settlers been massacred? Had they fled inland? Some believed they had been absorbed by native tribes. Others feared darker possibilities: Spanish raids, disease, even supernatural forces. But no solid evidence ever emerged. The trail had gone cold. By the early 1600s, Roanoke was officially abandoned, the fate of its settlers unknown. No graves were found, no letters recovered. Virginia Dare, once the first symbol of English life in the New World, became a legend. The disappearance was no longer just a mystery, it was now American folklore. The mystery of the vanished settlers consumed historians, explorers, and storytellers alike. With no graves or battle sites, many rejected the idea of massacre. Instead, countless theories emerged, some rooted in logic, others in legend. Roanoke became a blank canvas for speculation, each possibility more haunting than the last. One prominent theory suggests the colonists integrated with the Croatoan tribe. Friendly and geographically close, the Croatoan may have welcomed the settlers. European features were later reported in native populations, fueling the idea of cultural assimilation. Yet, no definitive genetic or cultural link has ever been conclusively proven. Others believed the settlers tried to sail back to England or further up the coast. Without expert seafaring skills or adequate ships, this would have been near impossible. Still, rumors of lost whites living inland persisted for decades. None were ever found. No ships ever washed ashore. A darker theory blames the Spanish. At the time, Spain and England were bitter enemies. Spanish patrols were active in the region, and a secret raid to destroy the English foothold is plausible. But Spanish records of the time make no mention of such a mission, and the colony showed no signs of attack. Some blamed starvation, internal conflict, or disease for the settlers' disappearance. Desperate and weakened, the colonists may have fractured and scattered into the wilderness. But why no bones, no belongings, no final message? Total vanishing without a trace defies what most survival scenarios suggest. The most bizarre theories delve into the supernatural. Some believe the settlers were cursed by ancient spirits. Others speak of mythical monsters, time slips, or even alien abduction. While these are fantastical, they reflect the desperation of those unable to explain the inexplicable. Roanoke had become legend, not just history. Even the story of Virginia Dare was mythologized. In folklore, she becomes a ghost, a white doe, or a protector of native forests. Her legacy drifted into American myth. The truth behind Roanoke remains elusive, buried beneath centuries of speculation, and perhaps the Carolina soil itself. Despite centuries of investigation, the Roanoke mystery still grips the world. Archaeologists, historians, and scientists have scoured records, excavated sites, and analyzed DNA, all in search of answers. Every new lead brings hope, yet the truth remains elusive. The lost colony has become one of America's most enduring historical enigmas. In recent decades, excavations on Hatteras Island, once known as Croatoan, uncovered English artifacts, tools, a hilt of a rapier, and a writing slate. These finds suggest that some settlers may have indeed joined the Croatoan tribe. Still, no conclusive link has proven the fate of the entire colony. Another promising clue lies inland. At Site X, near the Chowan River, pottery shards and European relics were found. These match the timeline of Roanoke. Could the colonists have split into smaller groups, some heading inland, others south? Evidence hints at movement, but not survival or long-term settlement. Modern technology offered fresh angles. Satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar revealed buried structures near Roanoke and Hatteras, possibly indicating lost outposts. DNA testing on local native populations also began, searching for European ancestry tied to the colonists. So far, no undeniable match has been discovered. The Dare stones, inscribed with alleged messages from Virginia Dare's mother, appeared in the 1930s. While most were deemed forgeries, one remains controversial. If real, it would suggest the colonists were attacked and died gradually over years. The stone's origin remains debated, fact or elaborate hoax. For many, the absence of a clear answer only deepens the intrigue. Roanoke isn't just a historical question. It's a symbol of human endurance, failure, and mystery. It reflects the hopes of a nation that never fully let go of its first settlers, even when they vanished without a sound. Roanoke's legacy lives on in books, documentaries, films, and even horror fiction. Yet behind every dramatization lies a true story of families who disappeared, of a governor who failed to return in time, and of a single carved word, Croatoan, echoing across the centuries, daring us to discover what really happened. Thanks for watching The Forgotten Past. If you enjoyed the journey, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a hidden story or untold truth. New discoveries await. See you in the next video.